All right, welcome everybody to our last lecture of April for the Friends of the Cabildo lecture series. If this is your first time, welcome you. We welcome you. If not, this is always free for members. I want to say we're probably in the spring, we probably did about 6 to 8 of them. We still have two more upcoming. Um, Next week, we've got Bert Bischoff, who's got a new book on po' boys. And then May 14th, Barry Anklet's be doing From Behind the Mask, essays on South Louisiana Mardi Gras runs. And then we will take a break for the summer. And then in the fall, we will be returning in August to do lectures. So I hope you take advantage of your membership and your free lectures that you can attend. But tonight's lecture, let me add a couple more people, is about a topic that's honestly, when it comes to certain things in New Orleans that always do well, things like yellow fever, JFK assassination, anything related to Canal Street in general. And so when Miki reached out to me and said she had been working on this lecture, I immediately said, yes, we would love to hear about these department stores and their advertising because they are just so important to life post World War II in New Orleans. So with that, I'm going to welcome Dr. Miki Pfeffer. She's going to be talking about these department stores. And welcome, Miki. We're excited to have you tonight.
Thank you, Jason, and all you out in Zoom land. I'm glad you're here. I wish I could see you in my presence, but anyway, here we go. Canal Street, yes, the shopping street in New Orleans for decades, maybe a century. Fabulous stores with gorgeous windows and lighting, especially at holiday and carnival season, and high quality merchandise and impeccable service, and smaller bargain stores and five and dimes sandwiched in between the main stores on Canal Street. They also benefited from the central street that lured generations of shoppers. By the 1950s, the war was over, rations were gone, people were building their lives, rebuilding their lives, and they were building houses in the suburbs. Merchandise was plentiful again. Flagship stores on Canal Street were beginning to expand into the suburbs of necessity because that's where the people were, but they kept the power on Canal Street. And each of the flagship stores had its own advertising department. That's what I'm going to talk about tonight, mainly with their own copywriters and production people and artists like myself who worked at art boards every day, drawing everything from washing machines to high fashion. Our work and the ads of department stores filled your daily newspapers. For a time, stores began to go away from Canal Street into the suburbs. That seemed to work for a time until it didn't. And the decentralization, I think, of suburban stores spelled the demise of Canal Street. By the 1990s, all that was gone. All the stores were gone. As Benny Grunch and the Bunch sing, they ain't there no more. Tonight, I want to take you down memory lane, mainly for fun. Maybe it was your memory, maybe your mother's or your grandmother's memories, but I also am grateful to Jason and for this opportunity to create a historical record from my own experience as a fashion artist in those years, because most of the people who were there also ain't there no more. At one time, newspapers, let's see, how do I get this going here?
You're just going to hit the next arrow to go to the next page.
Yeah,
I'm
doing that. It's not going.
Click your screen and then hit the right arrow.
Ah, here we go. Oh, this makes me nervous. But anyway, here we go. At one time, newspapers were read with arms outstretched. They were large enough to hide behind. That was the only way that people got to see what was available and happening in fashion and what was available in the department stores. Pages of pages of ads helped keep newspapers financially sound. Also, you see, there is a tear sheet here from the Times-Picayune, and next to it, the present size of the newspaper. The pages used to measure 23 by 15, now they're 21 by 11. And part of that is the loss of advertising, because it kept newspapers going. On Sundays, the Sunday paper was about an inch thick at the fold, but without ads, it has literally shrunk. Homes used to buy regularly the front page of a section and more space inside the sections. Here's an ad I drew in 1962 as it appeared in the Picayune. And here's a typical one from Maison Blanche. It seems the back page of a section and is a Thursday ad, the only day that Canal Street stores stayed open until 8:30, excluding Krause. They didn't stay open, but one night a week, the Canal Street stores stayed open late. Here, I had to create a swirling, lighthearted effect for mothers. More about the color later. The autoform at the bottom of the ad hints at the decentralization of retail power from Canal Street stores. They couldn't assume that people were going to come down to the Canal Street stores anymore. And here I am, girl graduate in 1952. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I had always drawn. A friend who was working with my mother, Marguerite Labassi, told me about a 2-year commercial art course at Rob Wen, L.E. Rob Wen. The building is still there. It's now International High School, 727 Carondelet, corner of Girard. It was built in 1937, a wonderful Art Deco building. I stayed there for just 1 year of the 2-year program because I got a job at Krause and went on from there and learned on the job. Here are some of the stores I worked for during the 50s and 60s: Krause, Holmes, Maison Blanche, and I freelanced at Gersmeyer, Kellerzander, Lord's, which was a small store at the end of the block there on the right, and Krieger's. I started at Krause and worked there in 1953 and 54. I made $25 a week, worked 6 days a week, and got my money in cash in a little brown vertical envelope. This is probably, looking at the store, 1962. It's their 59th year. Krause opened in 1903. It was value merchandise. It didn't have street traffic. You had to go to Krause to shop there, because the other stores you would pass by. They were closer to each other, but Krause was down at the end. In the center there is my first little drawing, so lovely. The ads were pretty utilitarian. There would be a little drawing, a little copy, the price, a little drawing, the copy, the price, and over across the page. As I say, it had value merchandise, but there were some reasons to go to Krause that people just went there for. And they had a terrific fabric and drapery department. If you wanted to make a costume or a special dress, Krause was the place to get that fabric. There was a wonderful floor of furniture. There was a good millinery department, a lingerie department that had huge sizes in underwear or step-ins, I think they called them then. Shoes, good shoe department that had shoes so large that the female impersonators could buy their performing shoes there. That was fun. It was customer friendly and employee friendly. And the owners, Leon Hyman and his son-in-law, the store manager, Leon Wolf, were hands-on leaders. Their offices were near the advertising department, which was a windowless, crowded 14 by 14-ish room for 4 of us. The ad manager, Ed Schwartz, did layouts. 3 artists, 1 guy and 2 women, another woman and myself, drew hard and soft goods. And as I said, it was a utilitarian style, simple little drawings. And the ad would be recognized in part by a distinctive heavy border around those little drawings and copy. And this was the border. And there I am modeling mink jeans. This ad was an exception to the little drawings copy and prices, because Wrangler Jeans was paying for that ad. It was it was the story. The story of the ad was not mink jeans, but come in and buy regular Wrangler jeans. And I happened to be fitting into them. The picture there is from Ed Branley's book on Krause. And when I pointed it out to him that I was that person, he said, "Oh, Cinderella. I fit in the jeans. I was the right height." So I got to model them. So how an ad became an ad. Some people didn't even realize when they were looking at ads that somebody had sat down on an artboard and drawn them. So I was not designing the clothes. I was drawing what already had been bought by a buyer who went to market, who went to New York probably, and ordered the merchandise for the next season. And then once they knew when it was coming in, they would plan the ads. Buyer would plan an ad and see if the manufacturer, the merchant who was wholesaling them would share the cost, and which items they were going to use, and how much space was going to be used for the ad, and what story was going to be told in the ad. And then the advertising department manager would pass that information on to layout artists, copywriters, and then the layout artist would sketch the look of the ad, and then fashion artists would be assigned to draw from the layout, maybe what supplies to use. A copywriter would be at the same time writing copy, especially in large departments. Sometimes that in smaller departments, the same person did all those jobs. Then both parts would go to the newspaper. It would get set. The newspaper would return proofs. Production people would check the proofs, make corrections, and send it back to the newspaper. Newspaper would print the corrected ad and then send tear sheets to the store. And here's a tear sheet that you saw at the beginning. I've simulated here a layout because I didn't have any layouts in my possession. So they would not have been that detailed. The drawing on the left is what it would kind of look, a layout would kind of look like when it came to the artists and to the copywriters. It would have little squares for the copy to fit into, and then the artist would have an idea about what needed to be done there. I don't have the original art for this ad, but I did also make a simulation of how the color would be designated to for the newspaper to know where red would go. We had to also do that. It would be a flap on the artwork. And if it was more than one color, we'd have to have a flap for each color. Here I am at Holmes, and there you see a layout that's rougher than what I just showed you, but it's an actual layout that I was working from. And behind me there are layouts hanging up on hooks, waiting for an artist to be assigned that ad, or to just get up and take the next one if you finished an ad. You had about 2 days in advance to do the work. It was always on deadline. Everything was fast. The drawing on the right was not a full page, but the full height of a page. If I'm drawing a dress, I don't know what I'm drawing there, but it would be the dress would be hanging on the coat rack there for me to look at. Holmes was a beloved store. It had vast store windows, a clock under which everybody met. I think Ignatius Riley is still waiting for his mother. Holmes had a premier retail culture for shoppers and for employees. And there were special things about Holmes, including the restaurant that was next to the candy department with the scale to weigh in between. Kind of crazy merchandising there. The selling floors were beautiful, but the advertising department was less so. It was a long, dingy rectangle at the back of the store. About 15 to 20 of us arranged ourselves kind of higgity-piggity. The advertising manager was Edith Sorensen. Women had a good chance to advance in retail, where those opportunities were not as available in other places, in other kinds of work. The department had wood floors and occasionally mop water rained down from the floor above when janitors were mopping. A bank of windows along the left side of the room saved it from being totally dreary. But the ads were wonderful, and the store was great to work for and shop in. It was so local. Unexcelled service, no fault return policy. You could bring something back 2 years later, and Holmes would just give you a refund. And it also had all manner of training for the sales and management, people who were moving up. There were always chances to advance. Advertising was not included in that training. We were off to ourselves doing our thing. But there were lots of sales contests with prizes from a tiny bowl to a buying trip in New York. There were picnics and shows and sports, total store spirit. Buyers sometimes had tiny little departments that they bought for, a handkerchiefs and umbrellas buyer, a hosiery buyer. Sometimes they were very large departments, and Holmes spared no expense. A gift buyer designer, Dan Armstrong, traveled the world creating Holmes' signature Christmas items, ornaments and such. The high fashion ad, as I say on the right, is the full height of a page. It's on Swarthmore board, if you're familiar with artboard. It's a wash drawing, and we would have to create the surface pattern. This is obviously a linen-like suit and a coat that has some kind of slub pattern on it. If we did an ad, we did a drawing in wash like this using a kind of black watercolor. It was more expensive for the store to pay for, because the newspaper had to photograph it through a screen as they did any photograph. On the left, you see the dots that would be the result of having been photographed through a screen, and on the right, you see a photograph that does the same thing. But we also had to do less expensive drawings. The store was trying to save money where it could, of course, and there were some special boards that would allow us to do a drawing that was camera ready, didn't have to be photographed through a screen by the newspaper, eliminated that step. And the story here, and these are two types. The one on the left is a pebble board that had a pattern on the surface of the board, so it created a kind of tone. And on the right, this board was called craft tint, and it had a surface pattern that was not noticeable, but it came with two developers, one that was clear and one that was a bit darker, and those two developers turned up as diagonal lines and crosshatch lines, as this right-hand drawing shows. The left-hand one up close shows how the grease pencil on that pebble board looked like a wash, but was less expensive. And then after Holmes, I went to Maison Blanche, at first to do the annex advertising. It was a department within the department. I did layout, copy, art, scheduling, and production. And then after about a year, I moved out into the fashion section. And although the store kind of felt more corporate than Holmes did, even though it was local, it was connected to a group of stores called City Stores. It wasn't as employee friendly as Holmes was, but the department was the best department because it was clean, it was well lit, it was divided into private cubbies or offices, it was organized and efficient. There I am sitting at my artboard and something hanging behind me there. The advertising manager, Rose Mode, would call us all together each season after she had gone to New York for the fashion shows and tell us what colors and silhouettes and surface patterns would be popular that year and how they would be worn, so that when we got the merchandise and the ads, we'd know what the look was supposed to be. Like as at Holmes, there were about 15 of us. There was the manager, her secretary, 2 layout artists, 2 or 3 copywriters, 1 production person, the annex person, an all-around assistant who kept scrapbooks and supplies, and we 6 fashion artists, 1 guy and 5 women. The guy did mostly hard lines and menswear, Frank Federico. Our job was to draw and drape and make surface patterns the right size, as if it was the print was on a body. Here I am in a print dress, and the drawing on the left shows a print on a body. It's supposed to look like a rounded figure there, so the print is not flat, not totally flat. The rectangle stickers on the drawing there indicate that this ad had color, because it would have had registration marks that had to line up with the flap where the color was, as I showed you earlier. I don't have the flap or a tear sheet on that. And Mr. Bingle, Mr. Bingle. Let's see. Here's a full page. It's another wash on the left there, another ad that would have had color somewhere on there. I don't remember whether it was a background color, whether the coat was colored. I didn't even know I had these drawings for years. They were in the attic and I came across them, and I have what I have. Another wash, we called it fluoro, necessary to get the tones of the fur. And we used a kind of a dry brush to get the furry look. And we had to, if there was a coat, we had to make it look like it was thick. So shadow under the collar helps that. We did a lot of shoe ads. And oh, the notes there tell the newspaper how to do this ad. SS indicated that it was to be the same size. It was to run in the Times-Picayune. I can't see I think it has a date there. And it was for Maison Blanche, and it was fluoro, so they'd know to run it through a screen. Mr. Bingo. This ad that I did is not selling merchandise, not selling outfits. It's selling the idea of getting the kiddies down to the window where Mr. Bingo would perform, and then hopefully they and their mothers would go into the toy store and buy lots of toys. I know that Mr. Bingo was and still is a beloved figure, but I tell you, by the time we had drawn it all from Thanksgiving to Christmas, we were sick of Mr. Bingo. We didn't want to see him anymore. So to review, here I am now. You can't see me, so there I am. Here's the original art, and it shows you the scale of that drawing. In the middle is a proof sent from the newspaper. The proofs were usually on slick paper. It gave a finer look. And then to the right, a tear sheet. After 1960, when my daughter was born, Gretchen, hello, I freelanced wherever a store needed me. I did a lot for D.H. Holmes. I never worked at Gaucho's, but I did work for all the rest of the stores on Canal Street. I was already handling Kellisander and Lord's out of the store. They didn't have a department. My task when I substituted was to match the style of art each store used, or each artist at the store used. At Maison Blanche, that was Myra Miller. At Holmes, mostly Bunny Scherzer. Krieger's was a specialty store. It had only a one-person department and smaller ads. The story on the left there is a nautical look. The middle one is an off the shoulder look. And notice how the darts follow the woman's figure, which helps to have the garment look like it's on a body. And on the right is lacy underwear. This paper was another version of camera-ready paper. It was just a thin paper. And whiting out didn't matter. Like, I made some errors on the middle one, but that didn't matter because once the newspaper got it, that was not going to show anyway. Here's an ad that the proof on the right shows is tilted wrongly, so I would have had to tell the newspaper to correct that. I also worked at Gus Meyer. It was a two-person department. So I had to work in the store because the manager, Yvette Levada, was very particular about how the ads were going to look. And they had to be camera ready as much as possible. Usually the figures were connected in some way. It was their look. And the copy often was typed as it is here, so it wouldn't have had to be set by the newspaper. And the headlines were sometimes done by hand. So when you sent it to the newspaper, it was camera ready. The location of their ads was another way to identify Gus Meyer. They were always on the bottom of the fold. And I think they were on the left-hand page. I can't exactly remember, but I think they were on the left-hand page. But they had a definite look. The department at Gus Meyer was so tucked away, windowless, and not part of the rest of what was going on in the store at all, that one day when I was working late, I left the department and there was nobody else in the store. I was the only person in the store and the door was locked downstairs and it would have gone off. So I had to call the store manager. He was not happy, but anyway, that's what happens when you're tucked away. So here are more Gus Meyer ads, again, camera ready. Notice the variety of surface patterns. You have furry things, you have a silky suit, a linen dress, and boucle and tweedy looks. And that's the end of what I have to tell you. Here are just a sampling of other ads along the way, and my holding that little ad from Krieger's. So I'm ready for some questions and some sharing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Miki. Yeah, that was a wonderful talk. And honestly, I didn't know this about you, that you had done all this stuff. We've known each other for years, but I didn't know this part. So if you'd like to ask a question, you're welcome to put it in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself, you're welcome to. I see Emily has a question. If she wants to put it in chat, or if she wants to unmute herself, she can do that. Let's see what she has to say. Maybe she has a question. Let me start off with.
Yeah, I'm going to be brave.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll be brave and I'll turn my mic on. Thank you, Miki. That was awesome. So I grew up in the 90s. I have no experience with these department stores, but I work as an archivist at the Historic Drones Collection, and I'm working with commercial art pieces exactly like this.
Yes, I know that.
But a little bit later from the 70s. So I absolutely loved hearing about what processes you use, the materials you use to get those effects. And the camera ready thing is very interesting to me. I definitely recognize those inscriptions as printing instructions, but I guess I'm curious, did people continue to use non-camera ready like washes? Or do you think that the industry moved towards these camera ready techniques and didn't go back?
The industry moved more towards photographs and didn't go back, I think. But I believe that in the 70s and at least they were still using wash and a variety of surf boards, because you would get different effects with different boards, and you had to be aware of the cost, or you would be reminded, you know, by the manager who would say, you can use wash for this, but do a camera ready for a $12 to $14 dress, you know.
And that's because it was cheaper for the buyer, for the
Cheaper for the,
department store.
yeah, right, because
Right.
they would have a budget, and the ad cost would come out of their budget. I didn't know the details of that, but I know that that was a consideration. I have seen those drawings at HNOC. In fact, I met with the person who was handling them in some way, and some of them are from a little bit earlier time, and a couple others are Bunny Scherzer, who I worked with at DH Homes, and they're either about the same time that maybe the 60s or maybe into the 70s, but very much like what I've shown you here. Yes.
Yeah. Does the name Max Singer ring a bell?
No.
Okay,
No.
that's the one I'm working on now. So we have a couple
Oh.
collections like that.
Oh,
But
really?
I'd love to talk to you later.
Yeah.
I'll let someone else ask a question. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Great.
Um, Miki, you mentioned that the stores only stayed. These are kind of a little bit technical questions, and I wrote them down as I was going along, so I'll ask them
Yeah.
and mention the ones in the chat. You mentioned that the stores only stayed open one night of the week, although one store refused to. Is there any reason why that was?
Why that was that one store didn't, and
No,
the
no,
rest.
that why they would only be open one night of the week.
Well,
Night.
I mean, that was a conciliation to trying to get those people down to Canal Street. Before that, it was like closed at 5:30, you know, and everybody had to do their shopping before that. That was
There was no rogue place that stayed open till 8 o'clock every single night, and they were just known as the one place.
not in the 50s and 60s. No.
What's interesting to me was also you mentioned a little bit about the newspaper, but how was the newspaper useful to you guys? Are they helpful to you guys, or basically are you just working to try to get it out just by the time you meet the newspaper's deadline each day? Because I mean, it almost feels like you said you only have 2 days here. Like it feels like this was a give and take with the newspaper as well, or was
Yeah,
it not?
yeah. They would send over someone, a runner, I forget the term, but he
Like
would
a
come,
courier.
courier. He
Yeah.
would, newspaper courier, he would come in the morning and drop off proofs, and then he'd come back in the afternoon and pick up artwork and, you know, whatever had to go to the newspaper. It was a working relationship. We were both benefiting by it. You know, the newspaper was certainly benefiting by all the ads. You can tell by newspapers and magazines now that don't have the ad purchases. They have trouble staying alive because, you know, the ads paid for a lot of the newspaper's financial health.
And you also mentioned that you worked 6 days a week.
Oh, just at Kraus, though.
Just at Kraus?
Yeah. After that, I worked 5 days a week.
Okay, but was it that they were just? I mean, were they basically, kind of, it was a war of these department stores, and not, but that metaphorically, that they were competing against each other, or were all of you guys kind of seeing what other people were doing and taking something from there, or taking something from something else you saw in an ad or in a magazine and stuff like that? I mean, was the relationship with the other stores good as well?
Well, it was a friendly competition.
Mhm.
You know, you definitely wanted to be the first with the best and the most. You wouldn't be happy if you were both advertising the same merchandise at the same time. And Kraus was a totally different thing. I mean, Kraus was its own entity down there.
Giselle asked, what was the creative process leading to the creation of the character of Mr. Bingle? If you are aware of that.
That story is told, um, Maison Blanche, MB, Mr. Bingle, that's the
Okay.
connection. And the story is that I think the window dresser went to another city and they had a kind of a mascot figure that they brought out at Christmas. And he thought that was a good idea. And they came up with this idea of the little snowman with an ice cream cone on his head and little holly wings and a peppermint stick in his hand. And as I say, people love him, but I tell you, we didn't love him.
Now,
He had to be an ever.
now we know that like August hits and then all of a sudden Thanksgiving is already on the shelf. Was Mr. Bingle brought out quite early, or is it waited till after Thanksgiving, or um, did you guys begin the process of starting Christmas earlier than everyone else?
No, I think it was pretty much after Thanksgiving
Okay.
that inching up on the season came a bit later.
Jean says that she very much enjoyed your the fascinating and scintillating mink jeans. I do. I'm impressive that you put it out there, but it was a great to show that and to literally to be talking to someone who's in the ad, which is amazing.
It's pretty funny.
And you guys and when you and I'm guessing you probably had no modeling experience, but I mean like it was just like bam, we need someone to take a photo with these jeans, and you just said yes.
Well, I was the right size and height.
There you go.
My
Okay.
coworker wanted desperately to be that person, but she was too short. So I just, as Edward Bradley said, I was the Cinderella figure. I just happened to be there. I was available and I fit in the jeans. Yeah.
The jeans were not still in the attic though.
The jeans were what?
No, they weren't in the attic with the ads and everything. You'd have the full everything, the outfit, the advertisement. You didn't keep the jeans, is basically what I'm saying.
Oh, keep the jeans?
Yeah.
No. The jeans went on to the next store that they were going to run
That's
this.
right. Mary Lynn says, I used to love those fashion ads, would often try to draw those same images. And she says she had very crude results, but I'm sure they were really fantastic.
Everybody has to start somewhere.
Oh, I did want to ask one more question. Yeah, exactly. You moved a lot, and obviously when you said you had your daughter, that changed everything and you went to more freelance, and that made sense as well. But the moving from one store to the other, how did that get received by them, and did it matter to you at all? You were just, or was they were like, oh, but they're going to pay me $45 a week compared to
Exactly. That's the only way you got a raise. And it was a small group of people working in the same field, and we knew each other. So we knew when someone was going to leave, and that was a way to get a raise. So you went to the next place.
Well, Miki, I want to thank you so much for talking about this great piece of history, and then obviously providing us all of these amazing ads and drawings, and to put it together like this. I found it really, really fantastic. And this is always a reminder to people: oh, you always find things in your attic. So don't just throw everything out. Go through things and stuff like that, because this is not the first story where I've heard where it's been in the attic and then you come across something. So
Right.
really, really fantastic of you to put this together for us, and thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Thanks. I'm so glad to get this on record, really, an oral history, because it needs to be known somewhere.
Absolutely. And are there is anybody is around still that you worked with that was around your age?
There's one person in North Carolina who has dementia, and maybe Bunny Scherza is still out there somewhere, but I don't know of anyone else that I worked with who's still around. That's why I wanted to get it down before I go,
No, well,
before I ain't there no more.
we appreciate you doing this, and we know we'll have some more lectures coming up from you soon. Just a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much, and I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And we'll see everybody next Tuesday at 6 p.m. talking about po' boys. Thanks, Miki.
Thanks.